Good day, everyone. I am Jaya Lumari Ulap, the assigned reporter for the lost topic in Week 11, the Cognitive Apprenticeships and Reciprocal Teaching. And to begin with this interesting topic, let us jump first to the first main point of this lesson, the Cognitive Apprenticeships. So what is cognitive apprenticeship? It is basically a relationship between a learner and a teacher. A learner, particularly who is less experienced, will acquire knowledge and skills under the guidance of an expert. And to dig deeper, let us focus to the word apprenticeships. So back then, it was the vehicle for transmitting the knowledge required for expert practice in fields, like for instance, painting and sculpting to medicine and law. However, in modern times, apprenticeships has largely been replaced by formal schooling. Hence, it is a model of instruction that goes back to apprenticeships but incorporates elements of schooling. And now we call this model as cognitive apprenticeships. But enable for you to remember what is apprenticeships, here is the basic meaning. It is a form of an effective education. And as I mentioned earlier, it was already proven over the centuries. There are numerous cognitive apprenticeship models, but most share 6 features, and these are modeling, coaching, scaffolding, articulation, reflection, and lastly, the exploration. At this juncture, let us tackle the first feature, which is the modeling. Students observe an expert, usually the teacher, model of the performance. So modeling is showing how a task is completed. Example, a grade 2 learner learning how to write in cursive form. The teacher will demonstrate it through writing it step by step on the board. For the learner, it is his or her role to observe until he or she can totally attain those steps in cursive writing. The next feature is coaching. Students get external support through tutoring because it is offering assistance and correction to the students as they complete a task. Example, the same scenario. As the grade 2 learner practicing the cursive writing, the teacher is obliged to observe the learner while demonstrating the skill. Through doing this, a teacher can get a chance to give feedback, not to criticize negatively, but aiming to help improve the learning. Because through feedbacks, the students will be aware of specific aspects that requires improvement. The third feature is scaffolding. Students receive conceptual scaffolding, which is then gradually faded as the student becomes more competent and proficient. So in this feature, the teacher deploys various support mechanisms for learners and eventually releases responsibility to the student as they gain confidence, competence, and skill with a given activity. Therefore, from assisting the student via holding the hand, a teacher should let the students write on their own to be independent. Articulation. Students continually articulate their knowledge, putting into words their understanding of the processes and content being learned. So the teacher encourages students to talk about what he or she is doing or what he or she knows with regard to a particular task. Example, it is vital that a student will not only know how to write in cursive, yet as well to know what specific letter he or she is writing. Thus, a teacher must ask the student to certainly prove the knowledge gained throughout the class session. Reflection. Students reflect on their progress, comparing their problem solving to an expert's performance and to their own earlier performance. So this feature is a way to draw the attention of the learner to differences for purposes of developing understanding and insight. For example, the teacher should allow the students to talk with his or her fellow classmates to let them have the comparison. It's an effective way to know their differences that could lead them to obtain ideas from one another and which will help them in improving their writing. Now we are on the final feature, which is the exploration. Students are required to explore new ways to apply what they are learning, ways that they have not practiced at the master side. It is testing of ideas by applying them to next problem. Example, the student already mastered the cursive writing and specifically know each letter. Now, it is easy for him or her to apply the learnings and skills to the next stage, which is cursive writing of a word until phrase and so on. So those were the 6 teaching methods, which can be sorted into 3 groups. Modeling, coaching, scaffolding come from traditional apprenticeship models. Articulation and reflection allow students to access and control their own problem-solving strategies. And lastly, exploration encourages autonomy in both problem-solving and problem formulation. Let us proceed now to the second main point of this lesson, the reciprocal teaching, designed to help students understand and think deeply about what they read. It is a guided teaching strategy where groups of students improve their reading comprehension. The Fab 4. It is the term used for the 4 reading comprehension strategies used in reciprocal teaching. Fab means fabulous. So, there are 4 puppets. These characters are Paula the predictor, Clarence the clarifier, Queen the questioner, and Sammy the summarizer. It was created to have fun and interactive way of using reciprocal teaching in middle and upper primary grades. In actual fact, this Fab 4 isn't included or mentioned in the workbook. I just discovered it while deeply surfing in internet, and I included it to my presentation for you guys to have a new idea, and I guess it will also effectively retain to your mind because the characters linked to each of the comprehension strategies are sound-like. So, summarizing the context of a passage, asking a question about the central point, clarifying the difficult parts of the material, and predicting what will come next. There are 3 guidelines for effective reciprocal teaching by Palingsar. First, shift gradually. Second, match demands to abilities. And third, diagnose thinking. Shift gradually. The shift from teacher to student responsibility must be gradual. Match demands to abilities. The difficulty of the task and the responsibility must match the abilities of each student and grow as these abilities develop. Diagnose thinking. Teachers should carefully observe the teaching of each student for clues about how the student is thinking and what kind of instruction he or she needs. Those are the significant points in the last lesson for week 11. I hope you acquired lessons out of this video. Thank you for listening and have a wondrous day, everyone.